Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hook Turn podcast. And this is our pilot episode, and we have uh, three idiots in this podcast today. We have myself, Vivek, and my two friends, Adash and Sanviv.
Hello, good to be here.
Hello. Yes, same.
Yeah, so we're recording on a Sunday night. It's quite chilly in Melbourne, but it's clear weather. Adash is in Melbourne as well, and Sanviv is in the wonderful city of Sydney, which is a little bit warmer, but
Not really, actually. You're
not
right.
really.
Yeah,
What's the
it's
weather like in Sydney? Is it still, what is it? Is it
uh according to my thing, it's 10 degrees.
10 degrees? Well, I don't know what the weather in Melbourne is like. Geez, what is it? Well, Melbourne is actually 13 degrees, so that's
Oh,
There you
we're
go.
interesting.
ahead. We're winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so we have a couple of topics on the menu tonight. So first, we're going to talk about this new Alpine A Alpha 390, which is a new SUV by Renault's sports luxury brand. I think that's probably the best way to frame it. And then we have a chat about what is potentially one of the most important cars of the year, or at least one of the top selling cars in Australia, which is the new Toyota RAV4. And then we're going to finish off with an interesting chat about the F1 because we have the Spanish Grand Prix on later tonight. But by the time this episode is published, we'll probably have the results of the Grand Prix. And yeah, let's see how accurate our predictions are. So, guys, should we get going? What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So let's talk about what's the first topic. So now this Alpine A390. So what do you guys think of the design? I think it's I like how they've sort of, you know, have they've taken a little bit of inspiration from the Alpine A110, especially around like the rear three quarters view. It's like, like that. And they're not even calling it an SUV. Like, yeah, it is an SUV. I mean, like you can't really call it anything other than that, but they're calling it like a fastback, right? So I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Sambib, do you want to go ahead first while I sort out our amazing slide presentation that doesn't seem to be working?
I think having looked at it just now, because it only just released, it with all of these supercar companies, whenever they make an SUV, it's always I can only imagine how difficult it would be for them to take, their specialties, which are usually two-door sports cars, and putting it into the complete opposite. Because um the a good design for an SUV doesn't necessarily translate, or a good design for a two-door sports car doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
translate to an SUV. I think Ferrari's done it quite well with their Murasangwe, and
Yeah.
obviously with this one, um, I think it, it doesn't look, it looks a bit awkward compared to, the
Mm.
A110. It certainly doesn't look as elegant.
Mm.
It's it 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 feels like effectively a design for a sports car that they've sort of uh
Stretched a bit.
stretched
Yeah.
basically to fit an SUV. So I
Yeah.
can totally imagine this design working really well on a low slung sports car. In an
Yeah.
SUV, it looks okay, and I'm sure in the flesh it looked cool, but I it probably doesn't work as well compared to that.
Yeah.
But it's what the consumers want, and obviously for any brands, especially very relatively speaking niche specialty sports car
Yeah.
brands, it's the only way for them to survive.
Yeah. I mean, look, they have to come out with something a little bit unique, a little bit outlandish. Um, and you know, coupe SUVs, whether you sort of like them or not, like they've been, pioneered by the, original BMW X6, and it's become a little bit of a mini trend, I guess. And you can see, like, if you look at the original Alpine A110, they have tried to borrow some of the language there, like
Yeah,
for example,
The
like if you
quad
look at
quad headlamps.
headlamps, exactly, like they're not circles, but I don't think circles would really work on like a bigger car. Like they've tried to make it almost like that. They have that front light bar with the wing, but then they've split up the light bar on the sides, and they have this interesting DRL design at the front where it looks almost like it's like a checkered flag, or I'm not entirely sure how they're describing it in the press pack, but like it looks like a checkered flag, like a almost like a racing design.
Reminds me a bit of the treatment that Peugeot are doing on their cars. That kind
Yeah,
of
that's right.
Yeah.
claw-like effect.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think it's pretty unique. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
apart from being similar to Peugeot, it's pretty unique compared to
yeah,
some of the others that are they're
mm,
doing DRLs or trying to do
yeah,
something different with the DRLs. So
definitely,
I
yeah,
think it's nice in that way, at least.
yeah. And I like
Actually,
the
looking at the Peugeot, it looks almost like it looks
yeah,
extremely similar. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Now
If
that
you
I look at it, yeah.
Yeah, if you even if you look at like the Peugeot, like what is it, the 3008 that they have the similar like even like with the the Peugeot, they have the grille that's sort of almost like color coded and it's almost like blending into the front bumper. And this one, it's Alpine. It is, I think it's a little bit different, but it's same taking like a very similar approach. Like yeah, it's these are the daytime running lights, and they're sort of blending in. Not maybe not exactly the same, but it's interesting, and I like even like if you look at the rare three-quarter design, like they have that black, the contrasting roof, and they've put in that subtle touch that of the French, tricolore with the on the rear C pillar. That's a nice touch from the Alpine A110, and then you have that same sort of light bar that the A110 also had. So you can see, yeah, they've taken elements. It looks like obviously they've jacked it up a bit, and
They got a similar effect going on here as well,
yeah,
which
yeah,
recalls the front, which I think is
mm,
nice too. I mean,
yeah,
the light bar is kind of overplayed. Everyone's doing it
yeah.
these days, so
Overdone.
I don't
But
know if
yeah.
it was necessarily
Even
the
mainstream
nicest thing,
brands.
but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, everyone
I,
seems to be doing. But I think as
Oh
far as
yeah.
execution goes, like it's
Yeah.
pretty nice compared to some of the others
Yeah.
they've done.
Yeah. I reckon it. I mean, if you look at the competitors design wise, like I think the competitor that comes to top of mind is what maybe the new Porsche Macan
yep,
electric. And I
yeah,
mean,
that's what I thought.
yeah, and that looks like I mean,
I think in terms of pricing that they're pricing it pretty similar to the
yeah,
Macan S or the
I think
not
so.
the Macan S, but the Macan Electric. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see whether they can kind of compete with Porsche head to head for a brand that's like
Mm,
still pretty new to
yeah.
consumers. I mean, the
Yeah.
A110, when did that come out? Like
2017,
2017?
2017, I
2017?
think. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've been out of the market for a while now, and
Yeah.
now they've gone from making a nice kind of
Yeah.
driver-focused sports car to an
Mm,
electric SUV. I
mm,
mean,
Mm.
I don't know necessarily if
yeah.
people are really kind of going to be running after Alpine, but
Yeah.
it's a nice kind of first attempt to try and win
Yeah.
people back.
I mean, people don't usually associate French brands in the same tier as like, your German Trio or even like BMW, Mercedes, Audi, or even and certainly not Porsche. So let's see. It'll be interesting. And I mean, I don't think too many people even know what Alpine is, to be honest. Like the enthusiasts know that, A110 very true to its ethos of being a lightweight, agile sports car, and the brand has this decades-long history, inconsistent as it may be, but like you ask your average punter what's an Alpine, and they'll be like, Alpine, that's like a probably like a Swiss mountain or something, like French Alps. You're describing not a car brand.
And
I think
lots of people don't.
for F1 fans, like a lot of us
That's
probably
true.
associate
Yeah.
Alpine with
Yeah,
the
that's
F1
true.
team more so than
Yeah,
anything else. But
yeah.
I don't know what your guys' kind of opinions of Alpine are, but like given how they've been running their F1 team,
Yeah.
I don't have the highest
No,
opinion of them, which
no,
is kind of the opposite effect you
no,
want when you're running a
no,
motorsport team. You want it to
no.
sort of have a halo effect of your road cars.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know. Like my first opinion of Alpine is a kind of team
Average.
that doesn't really have it together, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty nice kind of car. So
Yeah.
I hope people kind of give it a shot. It's good to give the likes of Porsche
Yeah.
some competition,
Yeah.
and they've got history from
Yeah.
when the original kind of Alpines were before were around before they resurrected the brand. So yeah, I hope they kind of
Yeah.
have
I,
a good shot at
I,
it.
I mean, I reckon the exterior design looks better than the Macan. Like the Macan looks electric. Like it looks a little bit like an elephant almost. The proportions are a bit stretched, bit too raised up, and I guess makes sense because you have the batteries on the floor and underfloor, so you have to raise the seal of the car a little bit and all of that. But this looks, I mean, it looks sexy. Yeah, it looks different. Looks a bit unique. So 21-inch wheels. You have the red brake calipers in the GTS version, as they're calling it. Um, you know, competitive powertrain. The tri-motor setup seems really interesting.
What do you guys think about the actual performance specs of it? So what's it got? 0 to 100,
I mean,
4.8 for the base, and then 0 to 100 for 3.9 for the
Yeah.
GTS.
at this point for electric cars, it's pretty much an expectation that they're going to be sub 5 seconds, 0 to
Mm.
100. So it's not, especially when you're dealing with a six-figure electric SUV from a sports car brand.
Mm.
I don't necessarily know if people are, with EVs, certainly that people, straight line speed really matters. I think now it's like, how does it handle in terms of like what,
Yeah.
in terms of its handling?
Well, I mean, that's why they're trying. That's what Alpine is trying to differentiate itself with this. They have their torque vectoring system with two motors on the rear, so you have like independent control with the wheels with each motor and can apportion torque and power and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much what the selling point for this car is in terms of the actual driving dynamics and the handling. Like that's how they're trying to differentiate themselves. I guess one of the things to note is that it's not an 800-volt architecture vehicle like I think the Macan, and even like you look at the Ioniq 5N.
Yeah, I was going to say the
Yeah,
Hyundais and Kias are kind of leading
exactly.
the field in this regard.
Exactly. All of their EGMP platform vehicles, all 800 volts. This is still 400 volts. Doesn't have the same fast charging capability. Only up to, I think it's 190 kilowatts. It's not like 300 or 250 kilowatts like some of the German and Korean rivals. So that's bit of a downer. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see the
I
road
think
test.
I think that
Yeah.
they're trying to win on looks, I think
Yeah.
primarily. I think they're trying to win on looks and hoping, the driving experience kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
evokes some sort of sporty character.
Yeah.
And then, they'll probably follow up with kind of technology and
Yeah.
other kind of specs that can match with the competition. But I think they're trying to appeal on emotion more than
Yeah.
anything else, and then
Yeah.
try to just get people in the door and see if they like
Yeah.
the brand or not.
Yeah, I'm
The,
definitely keen to see it in the flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reality is that the people in the market for a six-figure electric SUV are probably not looking necessarily for even driving dynamics, because if you're in that market, a lot of it is like you want to
Mm.
tell everyone that you know that this is a car that everyone knows. So that's where stuff
Yeah,
like Porsche and stuff, they'll have the advantage because they've got the
brand.
name
Yeah.
brand cred. Yeah, no one who's interested in like it'd have to be a major. But the thing is, someone who's a Alpine fan also wouldn't be interested in this because they'd be interested in their original two-door actual sports cars.
Mm.
So I don't necessarily think that this is going to. I don't. I'm sure they're also not expecting it to be some huge hit, because reality
Well,
is
yeah.
it's playing in a very small niche space already, and there's already more mainstream competition. And yeah, the exterior looks okay, but looking at the interior, which is where you spend most of your time, it
Mm.
doesn't, like, it's pretty much the same, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not different to what an interior of a more well-known brand gives you. It's just two touch screens. Um,
Yeah.
It kind of looks
It's
like the Megane
yeah,
E-Tech in some
scenic.
way.
Yeah,
yeah.
Megane Scenic. I think they've copied pretty much the interior from there. Like, I think maybe some of the materials are probably higher quality, like more soft touch surfaces. But I think the infotainment system, to Sandvip's point, pretty much the Renault standard infotainment system, which I've heard good things about, to be honest, like Android Automotive, has Google Maps built in, which is good. Has the EV navigation, accounts for all the charging stops, battery preconditioning, all of that jazz. But yeah, not a bad interior, but not something that's ultra special, to be
Yeah.
frank. Yeah.
The other thing they should have done is, and we're already seeing it now, is that if they come out with a hybrid version of that
Mm,
thing, and drop the price,
mm,
then maybe they could move a bit. But the reality is the people in the market for a performance electric SUV is so small, and really, yes, we can maybe, I mean, who knows, it could be better than the Porsche Macan EV, but I think the vast
mm,
majority of people, if you're going to spend that much money, you're going to go with the established brand that you kind of know, rather than spending that much money on a less, well, like, the market would have to be extremely small. If they came out
mm,
with a hybrid, uh, dropped it to like a 90,000 roughly price,
performance
maybe.
hybrid, maybe.
Yeah, performance hybrid, yeah.
In
And they're
some ways,
not,
it's similar to the Lotus strategy. So they've gone from small, lightweight sports cars
Yeah,
to big,
heavy
heavy
GTs.
electric SUVs and
Yeah. What's
sedans.
the Electre and the
Uh,
EMEA? Is that what it's? Which one?
yeah,
I don't know
Electra
which
and
one's the
EMEA. Yeah,
EMEA.
I
Yeah,
think the
which one's
Electra is the
is the
SUV
SUV?
and
Yeah, and the
EMEA is the
EMEA. Yeah,
sedan.
yeah,
So I
I,
think, maybe that's something they could aspire. I don't know how well they're doing in the
yeah.
market. I've seen a
I
couple
don't.
around, but I think they're
Yeah,
kind of in a different price bracket as well.
yeah, yeah. Again, I think Lotus is trying to compete head on with Porsche, and I don't know. I haven't seen. Well, I haven't seen any of the Electre or the Ame on the road. And I mean, Melbourne. You have like you go to like Chapel Street. You see plenty of fancy cars. Go to Port Melbourne. See plenty of fancy cars down on Beaconsfield Parade, and nothing. No fancy Lotus electric
but
SUVs or anything.
that
They've
goes
got
to
the
the
backing
original
of
point.
China too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But also the fact that people who are interested in those fancy cars are often not necessarily interested in electric cars, which is where
yeah,
this whole idea of trying to make supercars that are electric, I don't
exactly.
necessarily think is the smartest thing. Ferrari did a really good thing where they were saying, well, it's just as new, but it's not fully
Yeah,
electric. Yes, it's important to have an electric thing, but I think um,
yeah. One
going fully
emotion. Yeah,
yeah, going fully electric, they have to do what so many other brands have to, which is fake engine noise or fake a lot of things that naturally the
I think one of
internal combustion.
the fake engine options is actually something that
Mm.
evokes the A110 I was reading. So
But it's not the real thing. Yeah,
it's not the real thing, but I think they're trying to do
yeah.
that in some
yeah.
regard. I did hear that their Halo supercar, I think it's based on the concept they revealed last year or the year
Yeah,
before.
Alpen Glow or
Alpaglow,
whatever. Yeah,
I did hear that's going to be hybrid, right? And I
yeah.
think that is going to be a competitor to the SF90. I think they've
Oh,
hired
really?
the chief engineer from the
Oh, really? Okay.
SF90
Oh,
project. So
okay.
at least
Yeah,
I think they're exploring
yeah,
hybrid. So maybe you're right,
yeah,
Sam. Maybe they might bring it downstream and onto their
yeah,
more mainstream models as well. Who knows?
yeah.
But I
I,
think they know for that kind of top tier, they're not just going to
yeah.
win on kind of electric powertrains. They know they
No,
need to explore the
yeah,
hybrid kind of angle as well to appeal to the petrol heads.
yeah,
So we'll
yeah,
see how they kind of go with
yeah.
that one.
Uh,
I'm pretty keen to see that one actually. Like even
yeah,
the way that concept looks.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
will
yeah,
say,
time will tell how good that will turn out as well.
yeah. I will say one thing about the interior. I think Renault probably out of all of the major OEMs has the balance between like touch screens and physical buttons, like right? Because you have your big, I think it's a 12-inch portrait screen, but then below that you have like the physical buttons for the air conditioning and the fan and the all of the essential climate controls. So I like that balance, but that's not an Alpine thing. That's just a Renault thing. So, but I do like that this aspect of the interior design, as minor as it is. But yeah,
Yeah, let's move on to the Toyota now.
yeah. Let's see the most important car of the year potentially. So
Probably, yeah. It's yeah.
Oh, so we got the ex Toyota insider to take us away.
Toyota Insider, yeah.
Yes.
I will give a disclaimer. Well, I did work at Toyota. I am not familiar with this model until it was released publicly, but yeah, I really dig the design, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I think RAV4, even if you go to the essentials of what the RAV4 actually means, like the acronym RAV4 when it came out, it stood for recreational activity vehicle, and the four stood for four-wheel drive. So I like the boxy design. I think it's good they haven't gone for something that the RAV4 is not, which is like they haven't followed like we're going to do a coupe SUV, or we're going to do something sexy or super sporty. I mean, although yes, there is a GR Sport version, but in terms of the actual design, they've kept to their strengths. They've kept that that boxy look, that focus on outdoor adventure, all of that stuff, and even like you look at in terms of the different trims and the design, like they have the GR Sport model, and that's sort of leaning into almost like giving me a bit of like a rally car aesthetic, like with the flared out matte black wheel arches and the flared out front bumper and all of that. But Yeah, what do you guys think?
I I actually am surprised how different it looks for something that's on a heavily reworked version of the
Yeah,
existing platform. Like
yeah,
when I heard rumors of it, I thought, it'd just be another Camry type job
yeah,
where just the
yeah,
front and
yeah,
rear there just been touched up a little bit and an
yeah,
interior overhaul. But really looking at it, I think it's come together pretty well. Like I like the detailing, especially in the rear with those LEDs. It's kind of
yeah,
infinity-like in some way, that light signature.
yeah,
And the front somehow like works this hammerhead kind of front end that they've been
yeah.
doing.
Camera
This
design,
the
yeah,
C-shaped headlight, it works as well as it does on any kind of Toyota. So
yeah,
I think they've done a really good job. And as you said, the GR Sport like
yeah. It looks
takes the
sick.
cake for looks for
Yeah,
me. I think
yeah,
that's a seriously cool looking model. And I think
yeah,
we talked about this before and offline, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Crown Sport, just maybe a boxier.
yeah, yeah.
I think this color helps because I think that's the same color
Yes,
the Crown Sport was launched in. But
yeah.
this is a genuinely cool car, and I think with the powertrain as well, with the plug-in
Mm,
hybrid powertrain, which I think the people in the States have had it in the previous generation,
Yeah.
and by all
yeah.
reports, it's a pretty quick car. I think it was
Mm,
it was faster than the base Supra to 100, I heard. So
really? Okay.
like
Yeah,
something like in 5.5, 5.8 seconds.
yeah.
So
That's quick.
yeah, seriously like potent car. And I think adding the GR Sport treatment, the
Yeah,
kind of sportier steering, the sporty suspension, I think
yeah,
it's actually going to be a pretty nice car for maybe not the top end enthusiast, but maybe the family man that wants
yeah,
to be a little bit cooler on the
yeah.
weekends.
Yeah,
The
agreed.
weekend dad.
I think that the front end, while it looks good, it looks better on the sedans. It goes back like a lot of these designs, they effectively take, their design language from a regular sedan or certain, like for other manufacturers, a sports car, and
Mm,
it works well here, but still, I would say the Camry looks better from the front. The rear, I think that the current gen RAV4 probably I like the rear currently better, but
really?
having
Okay.
seen the current gen RAV4, yeah,
Mm.
definitely. I think, but this is having seen the current gen RAV4 in real life, whereas obviously this we're only seeing photos.
Mm,
However, it's not ugly or anything. It still looks good,
mm,
and also more importantly, the as you guys mentioned, the plug-in hybrid that's coming here, like
yeah,
from the current RAV4 Prime. Apparently, it's so popular in the US, it's they struggle to even meet demand there, which is
yeah,
apparently one of the reasons why also they tried to never bring it here. But
yeah,
the only thing with that is, well, also I'm thinking that because it's Toyota doing it, similar to how they made hybrids mainstream, I wouldn't be surprised a RAV4 PHEV. Yes, we've
yeah,
got BYD and the Mitsubishi having PHEVs already, but a Toyota RAV4, a super mainstream car, having a PHEV and making it even more mainstream, like
yeah,
people actually knowing even more about what a PHEV is and how it's that
yeah,
middle ground between a full EV and a hybrid.
yeah. I mean, I think it's going to sell like hotcakes. I am keen
Yeah.
to see out of like the proportion of uh total RAV4 sales, what proportion are going to be the PHEVs, the hybrid? Because I mean, it has really good specs, 100 kilometers of EV range. That's really solid. You
I
could
think it's
easily,
it's better than what the NX had. I think I was looking at the NX a little while ago, and I think
yeah,
that
I
the
think
EV only range for that's only around eighty
yeah,
kilometers, something like that, even
and
less maybe. So
and I think
it's pretty
the
good.
NX is on even on that NEDC cycle, so it's a much more optimistic testing cycle that they're claiming the range on as well. So I think this is 100 kilometers on WLTP, which is more realistic. I mean, you can like for the average like sort of punter, like you're going around, your daily, weekly commute to work. I reckon 100
Yeah.
kilometers.
It's
If
higher
you
than the yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you plug it in every night and it's plenty, it's I think it's more than sufficient to go Monday to Friday. And then as they
Yeah,
say with plug-in hybrids, if you want to go on a road trip on the weekend, then you have the petrol engine as the backup. So I mean I think for if you only have one car and you want to save a little bit on fuel, I think it's really good, the powertrain.
I think
Yeah,
100 for me is like absolute minimum. I reckon 100 k's of range. If
yeah,
if if I was going plug-in hybrid, like the offerings on the market, a couple of
yeah,
years ago when we were looking at a couple of
yeah,
models like the NX.
Yeah.
Something like the X3 plug-in was something like 40 kilometers, 50
Yeah.
kilometers,
Not that
which
much.
at some
Yeah.
point it's just,
Yeah.
they've just had that stat there for the sake of saying, oh, we're a plug-in hybrid. It's not really
Exactly. Yeah.
usable electric range. So
Yeah.
I think if we start to see more of these types of cars that have 100, 150 kilometers with the
Yeah.
backup
Yeah.
of a combustion engine, that
Yeah.
reduces some of that range anxiety. And I think,
Yeah.
as you said, this is going to sell like hotcakes if they can even have the supply
Yeah.
to match the demand. I reckon there's
Exactly.
going to be waiting lists for like 2 to 3 years that
Oh,
Yeah.
if
100%.
they
Well, I
don't
mean,
get
Yeah.
the supply right for this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was for the current gen RAV4, and that was just a
Yeah.
regular hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the C Line 6 and thing has nearly 100 k's of range, but again,
CX60, you mean, or the Maz?
the,
Do you mean the Maz?
no,
Oh,
the
The
BYD.
oh,
BYD,
the C line. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yes, the
yeah.
C line. Yep.
So that got close, but again, as I said
Yeah.
earlier, a Toyota making something this mainstream is much better than a Chinese brand that is still in its
Establishing.
infancy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
what do you guys think about the interior and
yeah.
do you know much about the Rain software platform, Vivek?
Yeah,
Like
I
what's going
think
on
yeah, I think it's actually quite a big development for Toyota. Like I know they've been talking about Arene like as a concept for quite a while, at least like I think at least like 2 or 3 years because Toyota has their Woven by Toyota subsidiary, which is almost like a basically their in-house software development company or to say the to characterize it. Probably that's probably the best way to characterize it. And I think they've been working on everything from autonomous driving technology to infotainment software to vehicle software more broadly. And yeah, it's interesting that it's come into production on the RAV4. I think the RAV4 is probably given the expected demand and how popular it is globally, it's probably um, I actually think it's a brave move to put it on the RAV4 because if something goes wrong, this is like a major sort of vehicle for Toyota and its product portfolio globally. But I think it's a really good upgrade. I mean, they're saying that this is the sort of essentially the first software platform from Toyota that is supporting over-the-air updates, and not just for navigation. I think navigation they've had over-the-air updates for navigation software before, but this is just for the infotainment system more broadly, and it also allows for over-the-air updates for the ADAS system, so the advanced driver assistance system. So that's quite, I think that's quite interesting. It's almost like taking a leaf out of like the Tesla playbook, not completely, but to the degree of having updatable, AEB systems or blind spot monitoring or some of those advanced active safety systems, they can sort of improve the performance over time. So I'm keen to see how it works. I'm more interested to see how responsive the software is and what some of the performance is like, because Toyota is sort of known for being a bit of a laggard with infotainment technology. Even the latest systems, they've sort of maybe met the benchmark compared to the rivals. That's also a
Yeah,
bit of an
I was
optimistic
gonna
take.
say the latest systems they only got revamped. I think with the was it with the NX, or I think they started with the
Yeah,
NX and
I
then it
think
rolled
so.
out to the rest
Yeah,
of the Toyota. So
yeah,
I was surprised with the relaunch, but maybe as you say, it's more around the platform holistically, given that it's going to have
yeah,
over-the-air updates, it's going to
yeah,
affect different parts of the vehicle driving
yeah,
kind of safety systems as well. So maybe
yeah,
it's more holistic. Maybe the kind of interface and everything was
yeah,
kind of revamped, and then they've kind of
yeah.
carried. It looks pretty similar from what I can see in
The
this.
UI looks similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
uh,
maybe it just affects a lot more of the kind of
yeah.
car now,
Uh,
a little more
I'm
embedded.
I'm interested to see they haven't like gone with like the Android automotive route or even like or at least not that we've heard, at least the CarPlay Ultra route or anything. Like I think it'll support Android Auto and CarPlay, but they haven't like taken a leaf out of what like sort of I think Renault actually we were just talking about, or even like some of the other mainstream brands. They haven't just like Volvo. Volvo's not mainstream, but like they've some of the large other OEMs they haven't just outsourced their software to Google, so they still want some sort of in-house control over the fundamental software, which is ultimately, I mean, if they're successful, it'll be better for Toyota. So I think that's good. But yeah, well, let's see. It's. I don't think OEMs have the best track record of HMI design and UI design and having great software. So for a company like Toyota to take a stand and say we're doing our own software, we're going to do OTA updates, and then taking a risk to launch it on what is probably, I mean, to be honest, probably their most important model if you look at it from a global perspective. Like it's a, it's a big deal. So let's see what happens. So yeah, yeah.
I think
Um,
finally, it doesn't really matter what the car is like. People will buy it because it's a RAV4. It's the opposite of
yeah.
the
As long as
Alpine.
it's not crap.
Yeah, exactly. The reality is
Yeah,
that people trust the RAV4, they trust
mm,
Toyota, they know what it brings, and a
yeah,
new RAV4 will just be just a more modern version of what they already know.
yeah,
And as you guys said, it's not like some super futuristic thing. It's just a natural evolution of what the current interior is.
yeah,
So it will be familiar to people. Like the vast majority of people who buy stuff like RAV4s are not car enthusiasts. Most are like looking for reliable transport that's fuel efficient,
mm,
and won't let them down. And this will do that.
yeah. Yeah, I'm keen to see it on the road. I'm sure we'll be seeing it. When is it coming to Australia? 12 months time, I think. Expecting maybe
What
like
did it say?
this time next first
Yeah,
half of
first
20.
of all, 2026.
Yeah, so I think Toyota Australia can't wait to get it on their hands soon enough. I'm sure there's a lot of dealer interest already. I'm keen to see the pricing, especially with the plug-in hybrid model. I'm interested to see how they price it because how much was if you remember, how much was the Sea Lion 6? I think what is it, 60 grand for the
It's a bit less
PHEV?
than 60,
It's a
yeah,
bit
yeah,
less than
but
60.
it'll
Yeah,
be it'll be in the 60s guaranteed. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the top spec is probably closer to 70.
yeah,
And they can get away with it. The reality is that they know that it's a pro in fact, um,
yeah,
it'll probably come with limited supply. And the reality is anything with limited supply, they'll up the price and they'll know that the people who want it will pay for it.
yeah.
And I mean, with the tech and stuff, I wouldn't say I mean, there are other car brands that charge $70,000 for a car that I would say would,
Mm,
even if they do charge it that much, that probably offer less. So if they do charge
yeah,
70K for a top spec Feb, I'd say it's more
yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah, I think the Fev is coming in two specs anyway. I think there's like a front wheel drive and then they have the GR Sport all wheel drive. I wouldn't be surprised if the entry level Fev is like low 60s.
Yeah, low 60s, yeah.
I think I'd be shocked if the top spec is more than 75. Like I think you'll have to be under 75. Otherwise it's getting into Lexus territory, like
Yeah.
to be honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's see. Yeah.
And as long as the base RAV4 petrol hybrid uh, only one is still about the 45,
Yeah,
closer to
yeah,
50, or
yeah,
really 45 actually,
yeah.
because the
I
current
think we'll
one
be
is like
fair.
about 40. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you want that. Well, having rented one, obviously, even then, you want those car rental companies or people just looking for the cheapest but reliable transport.
yeah,
Something that's about 45,000 will be much easier for them.
yeah.
And unlike the current, well, the now previous Gen RAV4, where the base model was for a long time a petrol engine, here even a
Yes,
base gets you a
hybrid.
hybrid.
Yeah, they've
Yep.
Toyota. I was at Toyota when they decided to switch all of their passenger vehicles to hybrid only, and the vehicle efficiency standards, the NVES is key factor in that. But I mean, I think customers, to be honest, were picking the hybrid models anyway. Like, so I think it's a natural evolution, and they're not going to go back to a petrol only version of the RAV4. No way. So yeah. All right. Should we move on to F1?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Vivek, did you watch the Monaco GP?
I did not because I reckon F1, especially Monaco, is bloody boring. And Monaco, I mean, it's like Mario Kart where without the fun, like where you're just on one lane, you may as well just be driving down a road and have traffic lights.
I was joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you didn't
Agree.
watch it,
Yeah.
but that's
Agree.
okay. No,
I
I
mean,
mean it
it's
was.
rich. It's for the rich people, right?
I don't
Monaco.
think you're too far off the mark. I think, as a race these days with modern cars, it's
Yeah.
probably not necessarily the spectacle that F1 wants it to be. But in terms of qualifying, I think it was still, pretty
Yeah.
engaging qualifying. See Norris kind of take the pole
Mm.
position there and basically lead from the front. But yeah, I know Sandbeam stayed up and watched it all night, but it was kind of a race where they tried to kind of make it a little bit more interesting by adding, two mandatory pit stops and having two or rather three uh, different tire compounds that had to be used. So I think they tried to do something, but I think what ended up happening was a little bit of an interesting strategy by the Williams drivers, and I think the Racing Bulls as well, where they basically just tried to drive as slowly as possible, backing up the field,
Yeah.
getting their teammates to kind of get the two pit stops out of the way, and then doing the two pit stops themselves, which frustrated a few drivers. So not necessarily a race for the fans, but I think at least they tried something. But probably next year, I don't think it's necessarily going to be the way forward. Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
what do you think,
You
Sandeep?
kind of are just waiting for a crash, I think, or something like a safety
A
car
little
coming
bit of
out, because
drama.
something like that, where someone does something crazy, where yeah, someone crashes, or like obviously when there's rain. Other than that, as mentioned, it's basically like one car following another, which to be fair isn't just Monaco. This year's Suzuka race was similar, the Japanese Grand Prix, where there was not that much overtaking, similar to Monaco, not to the extreme, but being a historical track, being reasonably narrow. So both like even though these historical tracks, it makes sense why they're on the calendar. They're not necessary. They were suited for cars 40, 50 years ago, and they were super small, and therefore you could
Mm.
overtake. But nowadays, modern F1 cars are so wide. Um, with these more older circuits, it's not necessarily suited for overtaking. The newer circuits, yes, the ones in the Middle East, the ones in America, etc.,
Mm.
which have been designed, those ones, yeah, are
I mean, the only
usually,
only kind of wide part of the track is the swimming pool chicane, which
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And
George
it's
took.
super risky to overtake there as well.
So George took it into his own hands there, and I think he was fed up with being behind Albon for basically the whole race, and just
Yeah.
decided to take the penalty and take a shortcut through there. And I
Mm.
actually think it could have been a decent strategy. I think he could have done it, a little bit earlier, and it might have actually paid off even with the penalty. But yeah, it's clear there that these cars with those kind of tracks, you can just kind of block the field. It's like racing in a video game. Like if you want to just piss everyone off, you
Yeah.
just back everyone up. And you just, maybe you fluke a pole position and you have a really slow car, you just back
And
everyone up.
there's no red shells either.
Yeah, well, if you want to take the Mario Kart
Yeah.
analogy, yeah, you could basically just be, Bowser or
Yeah.
something and just
Yeah.
kind of be the fat guy at the front blocking the field. But yeah, even in a regular kind of F1 video game, you could
Yeah.
basically do this. So I don't know. I think George had a tongue-in-cheek kind of comment around, maybe it should just be a qualifying race where you just have a qualifying
Yeah.
on Saturday and a
They,
qualifying on the Sunday.
there was commentary that they wanted to change the layout of the track, or some of the teams were a bit annoyed that Monaco is always going to be Monaco, right? I thought there was a little bit of discussion after the race.
Because it's a street circuit, I can't imagine it would be that easy to change
Yeah.
the circuit in the same way you could do a permanent circuit.
Mm.
Um, and because so many wealthy people live there, I can't
Yeah.
like it would be very,
I
very
mean,
difficult. I think
I heard that they extended the landmass of Monaco by 13% by building a new kind of suburb there, a few years ago. So
Artificially
if
reclaiming
they could
land.
do that, maybe it depends on how much they care about the racing. Maybe they could do the
Yeah.
same here. I think I saw a tweet where someone actually overlaid the Interlagos circuit and said, if you actually go through the water here, maybe you could actually recreate the Brazil
yeah,
Brazil
Brazil
track.
experience, yeah.
yeah, I saw
So
that as well. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
who knows? But yeah, I think with the card layout, unless they make the car smaller, which I think in 2026 they are going to be a little bit
A
smaller,
Yeah.
very it's not significant
so
enough
probably
to
not
Yeah.
enough to make a
yeah, yeah,
difference. Yeah.
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 So yeah.
I mean, what are the new 2026? They're just trying to sort of, what is it, even out some of the powertrains or make it, because they want to make F1 more competitive, right? So how are they? what are they doing? They're having more hybrid powertrains or
There's
so on.
more of the power outputs coming from the electric component.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's going to be the main difference. They're
Okay.
actually thinking that on some circuits, I think even the likes of what has a long straight. I think like the Saudi circuit does that. It has a long straight. I think that people are like worried that the
Yeah.
electric kind of component, the energy will like run out on the
Run out.
straight
Oh,
itself.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
Is it going at
because
full
of the
tilt?
over-reliance on the electric motor. So
Yeah.
there's actually a real concern
Yep.
around where these regulations are actually going to lead to like good racing or even,
Yeah.
a formula that's actually going to be living up to the F1 name and not kind of embarrassing the
Yeah.
sport a little bit, which I think we went through the same thing in 2014 when they moved to the turbo hybrids, and basically most of the field was just struggling with reliability except for the Mercedes motors. So we could be ending up with a similar situation where they are saying Mercedes seem to have built, a monster, and the rest are struggling a little bit. So we
Yeah.
could end up with a situation where it's Mercedes, McLaren. I think even Williams might be doing pretty well, and
Yeah.
the rest might be struggling. So yeah, it's an interesting time next year.
Yep.
Yeah, personally, I wish we would go back to the V8s, and I think V10s are a long shot, but
V10s. V10s are
but
great.
No, no,
Yeah.
but
it won't be
it
possible,
won't be
especially
possible, I think.
with the
Yeah.
current thing. I mean, that's the whole reason that they're even trialing stuff like Formula E. Yes, they know EVs are not yet capable of actually
Mm.
doing a proper Formula One race with our current technology, but obviously with these new changes,
Mm.
putting more emphasis on the electric motor as well as the regular uh, power motor. Apparently, they're also using sustainable fuels, etc. in the F1 cars
Okay.
from yeah. So it'll be it's
That's
more
true.
geared
Sustainable
towards
fuels as well. Yeah.
yeah. So it's more geared towards we'll never go back to the V8, V10 era, that's for sure. Tonight's obviously literally a bit over an hour, the Spanish Grand Prix. Your should be a lot more interesting, so I'll be
Yeah.
watching.
What's the
Uh
track like in Catalonia? Is it more opportunities for overtaking? Hopefully
I
more
was
straights
just
and stuff.
racing it in F125 about a
Yeah.
couple hours ago. So from my personal virtual experience, you're right.
Your personal laser scanned,
Yeah,
realistic experience.
yeah.
It's
So
pretty realistic these days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's not bad.
they're pretty realistic. Yeah,
Yeah.
so no, it's a good track, but again, being a historical track, it's going to be the overtakes will be interesting. I'm happy Hamilton qualified fifth, so I'll just be watching him. Like the reality is, both McLarens are top, then Verstappen. Unless something crazy happens, it's going to be one of them. So for me, I'm like just going to see how well Hamilton does.
Thoughts on
He's,
Piastri? How do you reckon Piastri will go?
I mean,
Uh,
he's on pole,
Oh,
so
he's on pole. Okay.
he's on
he
pole,
he
correct?
won it by 2/10 of a second, which is the largest margin of the whole season. So
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's actually a pretty strong performance. So you would think, given the way he's performed this year when he's
Yeah.
been at the front, he's handled it like amazingly well. Like you would have thought he's already a two-time world champion with the
Yeah.
way
Wow.
he's kind of coolly handled, Max Verstappen charging
Yeah.
his
at him on the first
yeah,
lap. I think
yeah,
having Lando behind him will help.
yeah.
I don't think McLaren will want them to be too aggressive at the start. So
Mm.
unless there's an opportunity during the race for Lando to jump Piastri, if the pit stop strategy kind of works in his favor, I think it should be a pretty comfortable kind of race for Piastri. But yeah, the margins are tight. There's
Yeah.
3 points in it at the top. People really seem to be going after Norris a little bit, being like, oh, Oscar's a world champion, but there's 3 points in it, really. Like it just takes one DNF and suddenly you're way
Yeah.
behind, and Norris is at the front, or even Verstappen's waiting for the two McLarens to get into a little bit of an argy-bargy, which is possible when you've got two very strong drivers in the best car. But
And they
so
are
far, so
Red Bull
far
are
they've handled it well.
Red Bull are heavily reliant on Verstappen because Tsunoda, his teammate, qualified last, and it's almost impossible unless if something miraculous happens, he'll get into the points. But yeah, and Hamilton qualifying ahead of Leclerc, I was happy to see that, because so far when he joined Ferrari this year, there was so much thing about like his first comparison will be against Leclerc. So in general, Leclerc has been outqualifying him, but I'm glad to see that here is outqualifying Leclerc. Shows he's still got it.
Yeah. And it's Gasly still in the paddock, or is he
Yep,
out?
he's eighth.
He's 8th. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay. All right, interesting. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
yeah.
Gasly. I think he was the first lap crasher last race. I think
Oh, geez. Okay.
he collided with Sonoda and took him out. His ex teammates at
Yeah.
what was used to be called AlphaTauri, now Racing
Mm,
Bulls. So
yeah.
yeah, there's I think it's a good recovery from Gasly to qualify in the top 10. Sonoda, as Sambib said, he's in the dreaded second Red Bull car, and people are kind of wishing that the young gun had job in the Racing Bull doesn't get promoted and suffers the same fate. I think getting promoted to Red Bull, unless your name is Max Verstappen, is probably a death wish at this point, given
Yeah, unless
how Lawson kind of struggled 2 races. Perez's reputation, despite tanking at the end of last season, has actually gone up bounds since Lawson and Tsunoda have been in the car. I think people have realized that it's not Perez, it's the car. That car is
yeah,
a
only for
handful,
Verstappen.
only for Verstappen.
Yeah.
Mm,
But yeah, you're I think unless Tsunoda literally qualifies 20th every single race, he's probably safe in that seat for the remainder of the season because they don't want that much instability where they've got 2 major driver changes. But yes,
You would think that, but it's Red Bull. They switched
yeah,
the driver out of after 2 races, so
yeah,
anything could
maybe,
happen.
yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think they want to get I think next season we'll see, but I think they want to get the next young gun in, Arvid Lindblad in from F2. So
Mm,
I'd be surprised if I think Lawson will probably find that he'll probably be out next season. I think they'll try to get that guy in.
yeah. I,
So we'll
I
see if
just
Sonoda keeps his seat. I don't know.
is Sonoda still as outrageous as he is on Drive to Survive, or as he was on Drive to Survive? That's what I want to hear about.
he's matured a lot more.
Has
Yeah.
he?
Because he was
Okay.
up, yeah, yeah. His early seasons was where he was outrageous, but also he's just got better media training, and on top, and also now he's driving for Red Bull. There is that certain standard. He's probably he can't be like what he was. Like when you
Yeah.
drive for a major team like that, the expectations are high, including the way that you interact with people. So yeah, he's probably been neutered a bit.
Hmm. All right. So, guys, I think should we call it a wrap for this episode?
Yep.
Well, cool. Awesome. Thank you for listening, everyone. And remember, if you like this podcast, give us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on. If there's a thumbs up, give it a thumbs up. Um, any comments, questions, feel free to put it in the podcast link or the below the show notes. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Right.
See ya.